And we are live.
Ah,
I think we're good.
what's going on, motherfucker? We're good, right? I
Yeah,
feel like 17 times was enough.
I think so.
Yeah. Hey, man. We've had technical difficulties this week by not being able to tell time, right? On either end,
Yeah.
because I was late today, and then yesterday was a shitty day. Not gonna talk about it because that's a Patreon episode. I can't put that up for public consumption. But yeah, man, it's been a crazy. Dude, when was the last time we did a podcast? Was it after the presidential debate or yeah, right? We didn't even do a recap of the presidential debate, did we?
We didn't do one on Sunday?
No, we didn't, sir.
All right.
We didn't. We tried,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
my internet,
Yeah,
yeah, my internet, the mice had run out of steroids,
that's what it
so
was.
my internet was trash, and it didn't work. We were going to, but yeah, dude, I literally forgot what I said that we are gonna talk about, and then like the segue of it. So we're just gonna keep it rolling.
And this is what you're
Yeah,
paying
man.
$5, $10, and $15 a month for, ladies and gentlemen. You're paying for
Yeah,
my
I know.
the host and creator of this show to forget what the fuck we're talking
Yes,
about.
yeah.
Hey,
It's
hey,
hard being the ant.
at least you're on time with the fucking soundboard. You did something right today.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate you reminding me 12 seconds before to make sure I had it ready because it was on mute again. So I appreciate you giving me the heads up. Yo, look, before we really kick this off, right, and talk about the kidnapping of Governor Whitmer, the attempted kidnapping of Governor Whitmer, your hatred of Susans, I still think it should be Phyllis, but whatever. I want to give
I don't make the
my
rules, man.
brother from another mother. I know you don't. My brother from another mother, Danny, aka the sneaker teacher, aka Six Borough, aka D Granada, for these custom kicks that you see right here. So I'm gonna grab them and bring them up to the camera. So if you're watching this at home, I want you to understand the skill that happens. This is what we talk about
I like that
when we say
asterisk.
follow your dreams. Listen. This is a real championship. Fuck Ohio State
I
forever.
live in the
Okay.
state where these fuckers think that was a real championship. By the way, they still think they
Fuck
really
them
want that.
forever. You understand me? Like they didn't win that shit for like the other one has the Sebastian on it, but I don't want to have risk it and knock it over and then it hits the ground because they're never touching this earth. Those are staying right up there. I'm never wearing them, dude. I'm never wearing them. Those are a collector's item.
What was 800
All right.
bucks for the pair? Five,
Yeah.
six?
They they should be $800. That is a custom job. Shout out to my boy. That's what we always talked about, right? Like be creative, follow your dreams. Like that's the shit we're talking about. Not creating an OnlyFans. You know what I mean? Not trying to be funny, doing dumb shit on Instagram. That's the shit we talking about, man. I couldn't be happy for him. I couldn't be prouder for him of him. And I just want to give him the biggest shout out and applause, man. Shout out to my boy Danny. Now next, I'm gonna need some man chatter ones. I'm gonna need some Air Max man chatters, black and orange. That's definitely gotta happen. But that's in the works. We'll see.
We gotta take some really good pictures of those and tag that legendary Kane squad. And Reed,
Yes.
we're gonna hit them all up. Tag
Uh-huh.
everybody,
Uh-huh.
put up all the hash marks, and then make sure we get
Vince
Danny's.
Wilfork.
We get at Danny as well.
Yeah, they gotta get Vince Wilfork on that, dude. If you think about that,
You told me that shit's
2001,
not fire,
the two,
Danny. I know you listen to
that's
this
just
shit. Like, come on now.
yeah. He,
You
dude,
should
he
have.
lit-
You
you
should
know
have
what Danny
retired.
does?
You shouldn't. I was gonna say you should retire from teaching, but you shouldn't. If you're gonna teach someone how to do that shit. If you still want to
Yeah,
teach someone how to do that, because you could
yeah.
be doing
It's
that.
it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It's fucking
Jesus
dope, man.
Christ.
Like I'm literally like I'm not even like I'm looking at the shoes while it looks like I'm looking at myself. I'm literally just admiring that you. That's such a beautiful fucking you. Oh, so hyped about that shit. Obviously, they play Clemson this weekend. I don't know how I feel about that one. I'm a little bit nervous, so I'm not gonna get Hurricanes cocky on that like I used to, because we've literally like I
What
think
about
in the
that
last
chain?
2 games. Oh, son, I ordered the shirt.
Yep.
I ordered the shirt. It comes in. It should be here tomorrow. I'm wearing that. Like I'm definitely wearing that. I'm wearing that after the game though, because when I first worn the shirt and like with previous turnover chain shirts,
Yeah.
they've lost. And I'm very superstitious about my shit. So I'll wear that on Sunday like when I go see my family, not wearing a Saturday. I'm gonna wear the same green Hurricane shirt that I've worn for every game so far, and my joggers. That's I'm gonna keep it the same routine. If I knew exactly the underwear I wore, I'd wear those same ones.
Please don't.
I'm that superstitious. I'm that superstitious about my shit. Not even joking. Like I act like it like something I do affects them. You know what I mean? Like that stupid irrational fan shit where like I can't get up and go to the bathroom if they're leading. You know what I mean? Because if I get up and not watch it, then something can happen. Like it's stupid as fuck. Like it's so stupid. But that's exactly what I do.
Yeah, I've evolved past that.
Don't say it like
I'm
that.
at a
Don't
different
say
level
so
right now.
condescendingly. No, okay. All right. Okay.
I haven't watched like I was gonna say I haven't watched sports, but then I was gonna say what I've been watching football. I've all the messages you get when I'm on this 30-day 5K a day rowing challenge. I've done 15 days, so today's gonna be day 16. And so I'm either listening to a book or I'll watch a game that played the day before. Maybe they're live. It's usually something from La Liga, League One, Copa Libertadores, whatever's going on.
Ligun, you
Ligun,
uncultured swine.
Ligun. There's hey, by the way, there's a one though. I'm saying in English. League
I know.
One.
Yeah, I know, but it's the French league, so put some respect on the French.
do we put respect on the French though? Come on.
No, we don't.
We don't.
No, we don't. Dude, honestly, who
Just
do we
a
put
better
respect
footballers,
on this show?
Yeah, I don't even respect you. Come on. And I know you don't respect
exactly.
me.
We don't respect each other. How the fuck we gonna respect the French league? Shout out to the fact that Kylian Mbappe is gonna be at Real Madrid.
He is, right? Which is why Real Madrid,
as
you look at them, you're like, they're not doing anything this year. I think Barcelona takes the league, takes La Liga this year, but they're thinking long term. Like if they had spent this during this trading window, like money, they wouldn't be able to afford Mbappe, which is the future. That dude's what, 21 now, 20.
Yep, 21, maybe 22. He'll probably be 22 when he wears the Los Blancos. He'll be Blancos. I think there's a very good chance. That they get Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe next year, and they're gonna need a center back. They're gonna need a center half. We didn't even talk about this, but they're gonna at some point need to replace the legend that is Sergio Ramos, right? Like
he's 34 now.
Like he's getting older. He's still one of the best. I'd say top 5, top 7, maybe defenders in the world. Like you put like the younger guys like Upamecano from like RB Salzburg or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have different up and coming guys that are way younger. Yeah. But him and Virgil van Dijk are 1 and 2.
I'm a fan of Yerry Mina, Colombian player.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah. Everton, right?
Everton.
No, Tottenham.
Everton.
Yeah, that's right. He was at Shout out to James.
Him and James put up 3 goals last week. James assisted on 1 goal. Yeah.
They play each other. Liverpool for the Merseyside derby. They play next week, I think, right after the international break. Yeah. Looking forward to that's going to be a fucking game. I'm gonna have to figure out I hope it's not like on Peacock because that's where like all the EPL games are now.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that at all. I'm not a fan.
I have what is it called? NBC Sports as part of. Mm-hmm. Or what do I get? Universo, which is part of like NBC or some association. So I get the EPL games, and I get it in Spanish, which is better. I like that. It's
100%. I prefer Spanish. Yeah. I 100% prefer Spanish. All right. So I forgot. That was just like a random thing that we talked about. I forgot the first topic we were going to talk about. So we'll kick it off with the Governor Whitmer thing.
Yeah.
That just like the news broke today. So how fucking crazy is that, bro? How crazy is that?
Listen, for people that don't know, and I don't know if you found out before I sent you that article or if you had seen it before.
I had the headline, but I hadn't clicked the story.
Yeah, I usually don't click on stuff. I'm gonna kill my dog. I usually don't click on stuff, clickbaity stuff, news. But it was just too good to pass up. But I think the headline was FBI arrest 6 men that were going to kidnap Michigan governor. I was like, wait, what? And of course, with everything that's going on, and when you read the details that they had informants there wearing wires, these guys were meeting in secret locations and basements that had a trap door hidden under a rug. Like, this is movie shit, right? This is Red Dawn, 1983.
God damn, hell
Yeah,
of a reference there, Jay.
dang.
I like that reference, boy. That was a good one. Solid.
Yeah,
Solid.
I
All
try
right, keep going.
sometimes, but yeah. So these
Yeah.
guys, this is like that's what you see in movies where like, you have these secret groups meeting in all sorts of rendezvous, these crazy locations. That's what they were doing.
Mhm.
They were taking cell phones, putting them in boxes, and like putting them in, so where people couldn't be tracked by GPS, or in case they had
Oh, like
listening devices on them, like a
metal
metal
boxes.
box.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
except that the person that recorded them was still wearing a wire and didn't pat anyone down. Apparently, they did everything except that.
Yeah, very smart.
But yeah,
You got to you got like you with the story. Sorry to cut you off.
no, go
With the story, you almost have to realize like they were people who like saw movies of things that they were supposed to do.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like this was like, yo, man, I watched 007. They when people come in, they put things in a box. Like very, very first time criminals.
I
In my
was
opinion,
that's what I
reading the
was
story.
that's what was playing in my head. Like as I read this article, I'm thinking these guys just took these things from movies. 100%. Like we got to do this. We're gonna take
Yep.
these phones and put them in a box. We're gonna cover this trap door with a fucking rug because no one's ever gonna lift that
Yep.
shit. And it was just a fun.
Rug
When I
is
read that line, killed me. I'm like, wait, they had a trap door that was hidden by a rug. It wasn't even. I thought, it would have been even better if it was like it was a trap door and it was under some like movable like bookshelf or some shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Or like if you like press down on like that, pull down on the elephant trunk, and like open a secret door
Yeah.
to like some exit. Like what the fuck are we talking about here?
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
but
wild,
it was
bro.
what, six guys that were they were talking about they were going through weapons training. They were talking about kidnapping her. They had done recons and at her vacation home twice.
Yep.
Um, and of course, I have no doubt that these guys were probably, when COVID first kicked off and the president was talking about liberating Michigan uh, because of the coronavirus shutdown. I have no doubt that they were over there at the state capitol protesting, wearing
With their guns.
vests
Yep.
with their guns, with the Barbie doll on their vest or whatever the hell they had on there.
Very weird stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I wonder
Dude,
what's
it-
gonna
and it
be
was
said. I
worse.
wonder what the commentary is gonna be about these people. If it's gonna be another
No,
one.
they won't say anything.
What was it that was said about the Proud Boys? Stand back and
On standby.
stand
Yeah.
by, like
Yeah.
yeah. If that's not like
So,
a call to arms, I don't know what is.
And yeah, it's 100% a call to arms. And it's interesting, right? Like I have friends, right? Like in group chats and stuff that like my boy, right? Like my boy that made the shoot, my boy Danny.
Yeah.
Like he likes to play devil's advocate, right? And on both sides, like when he's arguing with a very conservative person, he'll be
Right.
like he just likes that, trying to get people's frame of mind.
Absolutely.
And he sent me like a video. It was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds of Trump like denouncing white supremacy, right? And I was like, yeah, dude, like he said it. Like he said the words like, oh, like we don't like there's no room for the but all that stuff, but he always follows it up with a caveat, right? Like we're like, oh, see, you got to be careful. It's these lefties that you really got to be careful of.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that like the nuance and the context of it. And it's not to like debate the whole Donald Trump white supremacy thing, whatever. Like it's the fact that like most of his policies had been put towards minorities, right? Like it's been
Yeah.
banning Muslims, putting children in cages, performing hysterectomies on women that are at the border.
I read
You know what I
that,
mean? By unlicensed gynecologists. These are things that don't get covered, right? Like we have to like find it on Twitter, click the link, and then do our own stuff. You're not gonna see that on CNN. You're not gonna see that on Fox. Because it's almost been like, oh, well, it's almost a thing where like, oh, well, we've already talked about immigrants. You know what I mean? Where it gets pushed aside. Like, yes, you can find a 2.5 minute clip where he says, well, we don't like, there's no room for that kind of stuff here. But then the rest of that video is always, hey, but these immigrants are really the problem. I mean, like that's the call to arms that gives the ladder of stand back and stand by energy, right? Liberating Michigan. Because it's weird, right? Like these conservatives and right wingers always say, "Oh, blue lives matter," but the rest of that story was, yes, they arrested 6 people that were trying to kidnap the governor because they thought she overstepped her bounds or whatever. But also there were 7 other people that were targeting police officers. None of the like this.
Right.
This is not a left wing thing. That's not what happens. Like that's a left wingers. If and I'll say we right. I'll go like that. Like if we're the soft ones, if we're pussy, we're not gonna fucking kidnap somebody. You know what I mean? Like that's not what's gonna happen. Like that's you know what I mean? Like we might burn down a McDonald's or some shit, or and most of the times that's actually been proven to be like Proud Boys or Boogaloo Boys,
Yeah.
like doing the race baiting with that shit, like wearing all black. So people really had to do their research. Like at no point has the FBI found any proof of Antifa in any of these riots or any of that stuff. It's always been right wingers. So for them to it's weird, dude. Like it's for them to want to kidnap somebody that that they disagree with. Like it's a very slippery slope for me, man. Like we've already done that slope though, right? Like we're down the fascism, authoritarianism slope, and fanatical shit. So
Yeah, no, and so look,
say?
I was one of those people where you talk about Antifa. I've seen the videos where, reporters, independent reporters, are in the middle of a protest that looks like it's going to turn into a riot, and they get their ass kicked by Antifa folks. I'm like, what are these guys doing? Like, you're supposed to be anti-fascist and all that stuff, and so immediately I'm thinking like, what's going on? And as I dug deeper, like you said, it turns out that those weren't Antifa people. Like it takes some time, but that doesn't get reported in the news. You see the Antifa kids beating the crap out of these, independent reporters, journalists, whatever. But they're not really Antifa members. I mean, not that apparently, Antifa is not really a coherent organization, right? They're not really an organization, but
No,
they don't have like a central headquarters. They don't have like the Proud Boys. When I saw that 30-minute Vice clip where they have like a chairman in Miami and leader and all that stuff, they're not organized that way, right? And I mean, I'll say that, and then someone will say, "Well, you're just buying it. George Soros is funding that and all that stuff." I'm not gonna get into that.
Anti-Semitism. We could talk about the anti-Semitism on another one.
But I got into it. I got into like seeing those videos. I'm like, these Antifa guys are probably just as much of the problem. And as I dug into it, I found out that they really weren't Antifa. It was undercover right wingers. It's like, and I'm not gonna say right winger because a conservative person isn't gonna do that, but it's like an extreme right wing person going undercover, pretending to be Antifa to then blow up that movement and try to turn the spin the news and turn the cycle of how everything was gonna be spun. Which to me was crazy that was happening. I'm like, wow, it was so easy. Immediately when I saw that clip, I was like, oh, Antifa's not all that great. And then I realized, no, they're being set up pretty much. So,
I mean, we've talked about it. I think even before on like previous just like conversations between you and me, where I'm like, dude, like if Antifa doesn't make sense in that sense, because like if they're doing that, then they're everything they hate, right? Like they're being fascist, where they're attacking reporters.
Exactly.
Like Antifa literally means anti-fascism, so it's allowing public discourse. Yes, there are the extremes of it, just like there is with everything. But for the most part, if they're starting to attack reporters, that's saying that like that's feeding into the Trump narrative of they're the enemy of the people, right? Like with that Andy No thing. Like you look more to the Andy No, the one that had like the milkshake poured on him and all that stuff. There was more context to that where like he was literally like intent, like was agitating the situation, right? And that those people weren't even Antifa that attacked him. Like it ended up being proven that it was false, and it was one of the podcasts that got I think removed from the Rogan Spotify deal.
That's the one that caught my eye. The Andy No one. I was like, what the fuck is going on with Antifa?
Yeah, and it ended up all being false. Like that's a false like. And the thing is,
you see that little shit over there making a cameo?
Yeah, dude, my dog is right here. You can't see him, but he's like staring out the window, like he's depressed and shit.
Yeah,
like he's looking out the window like Carl Thomas emotional. You know what I mean? Like,
Carl Thomas.
Like So then, but yeah, dude, it's weird. Like it's so the Proud Boys thing, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to the fact that gay men have taken over Proud Boys, the Proud Boys hashtag. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yeah,
because I always thought that was, I always thought that was the gayest name for an organization. and that's not gay, right? Like Proud Boys, I was like, oh, that'd be a great name for a gay club.
Yeah, that'd be
100.
yeah.
With
We're made up of
right,
mostly
like that's
Latinos, and we're first generation Cubans, and white and manly, and we're gonna call
and
ourselves the
ex
Proud Boys
cons
and ex-cons, and we're gonna call
and
ourselves
ex
the Proud Boys.
convicts.
Yeah,
Dude, when that guy goes, when that chairman, I don't remember his name, and I don't care to. When that guy goes, well, I had to become an entrepreneur. Like when he basically goes, well, I had to become an entrepreneur, and then the interviewer goes, well, you kind of spent some time in prison.
yeah.
Well, yeah, it was 10 months where I really had to get myself together. Hey, bro, like real quick, what did you spend 10 months in prison for?
He didn't really
and
say.
you're automatically no, like there was it just kind of. I started making these shirts, like
Yeah.
without. It was so weird watching like we've talked about like the colorism aspect of it and all that stuff. So what really stood out to me and what bothered me the most is the fact that they try to make themselves the martyrs and the victims, right?
Right.
But they go to FIU, Florida International University,
A school they don't go to.
for
Right.
yeah, a school they don't go to. These are men in their late 30s, 40s, or whatever, right? Looking for a debate and an argument for them to like plaster posters everywhere. Like, hey, like I have no problem with you being a hate group and arrepentido the way you are,
Yeah.
in your own little storage shed. Got no problem with it, bro. Do your thing. Timothy McVeigh that up, man. Be a right winger extremist. Cool. The moment you start going out of your way to be an agitator, then you automatically become something else.
Yeah.
Right? You're not the same thing anymore, bro. You're not, and that's where I lost it. And I didn't know about Pinochet, like the guy from Chile. I learned
Chile.
about that. You know what I mean? I didn't know he was a genocidal maniac, and they're like, oh, he did nothing wrong, so he didn't kill people. Like what are we denying here, bro? Like,
so what if I that's like you and me, and she mentioned it. I think the interviewer, she mentioned it. But what if I wore what was his name?
Che Guevara.
Che Guevara did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's not that's a thing that Cuban people are very offended by, right? Yeah, obviously, because he was also another cutting people's arms off and feet and burying them in different parts of the continent all over South America.
Yep.
Heads, arms, legs.
Murdering anybody who stood up.
Yeah, Che did nothing wrong.
Che Guevara did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I showed up with a Che, if I showed up with a Che t-shirt tomorrow, you'd have a problem with it, right? Like they don't. It boggles my mind, and it really does. I don't understand how they don't see the hypocrisy, because it's too on the nose, right? Like the guy even said it is like, oh well, there's nothing wrong with me wearing the shirt, because it's almost like somebody wearing Che Guevara shirt. That's offensive to us, so you're being offensive.
Exactly.
So you know what I'm saying? Like you're doing it, but you're like also the victim. Like yes, I'm insulting you. That's gaslighting, bro. Like yes, I'm insulting you. But if you wore Che Guevara shirt, then you're insulting me, and you're clearly more wrong than I am.
Yeah.
I
used to wear a Che Guevara shirt and then go to Danny's house to see what his dad would say to me. Marlon had one too. Yeah, I did.
That's awesome.
And then we get into a conversation about every time I wore it, he'd be like, all right, come over. We always got into these like deep philosophical conversations, and obviously when you're like 15, 16, 17, and like you're like, okay, well, you're older, you've had life experiences. I'll take what you say, and maybe not so much with a grain of salt. And as you get older and you have your own life experiences, and you start to question everything else, you realize, well, I mean, you've had life experiences. They're not any less important than mine are. But I've realized that maybe you embellished a little bit, or maybe you have a certain point of view and perspective because you have a certain political view and perspective, and it's you learn to kind of take everything people say with a grain of salt. And unfortunately, I have to say this, it doesn't apply to everyone, but it applies to the majority of Cuban people that I've spoken to, Miami Cubans, and I think just Cubans in general, even if they leave Miami. And they're conservative, they're Republican conservative by nature because of their experience in Cuba. And Chris, my brother had a Facebook post, and it kind of encapsulated everything that what we're talking about pretty. He says, Cubans and Venezuelans that just got here are all Trump supporters because they all went through the same thing, right? They all went through Castro. Venezuelans that just got here are going through Chavez and Maduro. And even Venezuelans that are over there are all Trump lovers because Trump
Yeah.
has all this big talk about all these things he's gonna do for Venezuela or sanctions he's gonna put on Maduro, etc. Like trying to force him out. And like,
Hmm.
but the one thing that they don't seem to understand because everything is socialism is bad, and maybe so because it hasn't really worked for the most part. But they don't have socialism. They didn't have socialism in Cuba. They didn't have socialism in Venezuela. It was tyrants. It was dictators that used
Yes.
the excuse, the veil of socialism to sell it to the country, which is why they had these populist movements. Just like Trump has this
Yes.
populist movement, nationalist
Hmm.
support, and
Hmm.
but that's what they go to. Socialism is bad. I was like, well, having a dictator is bad. He just dressed it up as
Yes.
socialism, but it's not
Hmm.
socialism. They're pillaring, like they're destroying that country, just throwing away all those resources. Venezuela was an oil rich country, still are, but I it I can't talk about this anymore because we go down that rabbit hole about people talking about socialism is bad, but they didn't really live in socialism. Like they lived under a dictator that used socialism as
Yes.
that blanket to sell it to them. Because what happened when everyone heard, oh, socialism, or we're gonna do this great stuff for the people? That's why they got elected into power because they were all on
Yep.
board. Yeah, socialism is great, except that they weren't really pushing socialism. They just sold that shit to you, and then they
They,
raped the country.
yeah. It's weird, right? Like every time, and we, it seems like this is like it's always going to be a recurring theme because it's not. I'm not gonna say it's like a political ideology, but like we see how the benefits of it, but people like that's where I give like the right wing and conservatives and Republicans a great deal of credit with like the propaganda of what they've done to that, right?
Yeah,
Where socialism to them is situational, like the Fed giving money to Wall Street, that's socialism. Veterans affairs, socialism. You know what I mean? Society paying our taxes, paying for these things. Military is socialism. As they cops are socialism. Teachers are socialism. We can go
it
down the
is.
line, right?
The
Like
fire
Medicare,
department.
Medicare,
Yep.
Social Security, like all these different things that are proven to be socialism, but because they were painted differently or you felt differently about them, they've become this different thing, right? Where like conservatives don't even acknowledge the hypocrisy of Donald Trump went to a socialist hospital, right? Like
Walter
he
Reed.
went to Walter Reed. He went to Walter Reed. It's a Veterans Affairs that's paid for by the government.
Right.
So like all these doctors, that there would be there's no bill that he's gonna have after that. Like other the 7 million people that have had COVID that have survived COVID, right? Of the 210 or 15,000 now that have died,
Yeah.
they're gonna have medical bills after that shit. Like if they were in the hospital, there's no fucking escaping that shit. That there's no out of that. If they were on a ventilator, if they were there for days, all those bills are gonna pile up. You know what I mean? Like that's like if there's one thing that is my number one, if I was a single policy voter, which I'm not, right? I look at nuance and different policies and all that other shit. If I was a single policy voter, it would be socialized healthcare. Because if I needed
Right.
to pay more in taxes to not have premiums and my wife be covered and everybody and not have to worry about surprise bills. We're like, yeah, but that doctor you went to go see was moonlighting at this hospital that is under your insurance, so now you owe us $2,500. You know what I mean? Where those are the things that bother me, and it just it bothers me that you know what I mean. People don't see it as plainly as you put it. Like it's socialism, quote unquote, what was sold to you, but it was a dictator telling you that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Where like authoritarianism is an actual thing that people just dismiss. You know what I mean? Like nobody talks about the fact that Trump was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna accept the election.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
what do you
I.
think? Maduro, Chavez, fucking Noriega with his military coup.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think, bro? Like,
We
he's
should we
saying it
should
right
put we
there.
should put the mayor of Seattle in prison. Oh, you mean
Yeah,
your political opponent, someone that opposes the way you're doing
yeah,
things? We should
yeah,
charge the protesters with sedition. Oh, that's
yeah,
what we do now in a democracy.
yeah.
Okay. But people, yeah,
Yeah.
the people that come from those countries, they've lived those experiences and they're so close to it, and then because of that, they're susceptible to bullshit and propaganda and being sold, whatever they're sold by. And again, you
Mm.
said it, conservatives and the Republicans have done a great job of molding that
Phenomenal job.
message.
Phenomenal.
Uh,
Phenomenal job.
they don't. they like separate the fact that they were under an authoritative regime. Like there was an authoritarian there. Like they all they do is talk about socialism, not about the fact that
Yep.
it was a dictator. And then they'll rationalize like, oh yeah, he was a dictator, but then it's socialism ruined the country. No, a fucking dictator ruined the country.
A dictator.
And
Yeah.
they
Like,
again, the mental gymnastics that they do to support the views that they support, whatever makes you happy, I'm good. But it just boggles the mind. It boggles the mind because we have this conversation.
like
I have
how
this conversation with people all the time, and it never changes.
like it's crazy, right? Like imagine the outrage by the this is where I hate Democrats, right? Imagine the outrage if they found 13 liberals or Antifa member or whatever the fuck, any SJW group, whatever,
Hmm.
that was attempting to kidnap the governor of Texas. Imagine,
Yeah,
like you know what I mean? Like
and
the governor of
Texas,
Texas is
death penalty,
actively
baby.
trying to stop mail-in. Yeah, and the governor of Texas is actively trying to stop mail-in ballots because Republicans, for the most part, that are older and more conservative, have never liked standing in line, so they do majority of mail-in ballots. So now they're finding out that Democrats are beating their asses even in red-ass Texas, so they're trying to stop those votes. Imagine that's authoritarian as fuck. Imagine if liberals were like, "Yo, we're gonna kidnap them." The propaganda and the speeches that would be given by Ted Cruz,
Right.
Tom Cotton, all these different conservative Republicans is more effective. You ain't gonna hear a fucking thing from these Democrats, bro. You're not. They're not gonna do it. Why? Because they're paid to be pussy. They're paid to be pussy. Let's just call it what it is. Nancy Pelosi ain't gonna do it. Chuck Schumer ain't gonna do it. Joe Biden isn't gonna do it. They'll just give you that shit where, oh well, we gotta be better. Hey, bro, let's point out what the fuck they were trying to kidnap a sitting U.S. governor and probably kill her because they felt she overstepped her bounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. They wanted to kidnap her and hold her accountable and hold a trial for her for all the crimes that she did because she overstepped her bounds. And as soon as I finished reading that, I immediately went to the comment section because it was a good article, but the comment section is always
Yep.
very entertaining. And
Yes.
but someone made a comment, right? Like you have these six guys that were gonna kidnap a governor. That
And target
trial,
police.
quote unquote trial, and target police, correct, could have very well turned into her being gang raped, right? That would have been their way of showing her that she
Beating
and
her. Yep.
yeah, and that, I mean, I saw there were funny comments, so I thought I was gonna come with a funny comment, but I did it. I apologize to fuck up the mood, but that's true, right? Like you have these crazy guys that are having secret meetings in basements talking about kidnapping the governor of a state, whatever they call themselves, the Michigan militia or I don't know what the hell they call themselves, Wolverine militia. No, they're fucking terrorists. They are
Yes.
terrorists. You are
Yes.
talking about kidnapping a governor,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, and targeting police. You guys are terrorists. Now I
Simple as that.
believe they're all Caucasian, so we'll see what they're charged with.
I mean,
But to me, that's a pretty
I mean,
straight,
obviously, right?
straight up. Yes, that's a terrorism charge, right?
Hey, yeah. I mean, it's not going to be, and I could see them being pardoned by the president and the AG saying, "Hey, look, it's
They're
just
part of the
just
state
free
militia. It's free speech. They're trying to
Yeah.
protect their state, and yeah, I believe it.
Now, there's one thing I wanted to talk to you about, like the whole Cuban thing, because you brought it up on the last podcast
Yeah.
we did that you had done research into that. But before that, here I have a question.
I'm
Isn't
gonna murder you.
militia in it? Isn't militia in its core and its heart anti-government of any sort?
Right.
So they're like anti-American, right? Like because the part that they're gonna take the law into their own hands. It's this belief that like Democrats are coming after your guns. So if that's true, it's not like the governor of the state is gonna come to your door. It's gonna be cops or a National Guard or whatever, right? And to correct you or like to arrest you. So are you going to then shoot at these people that you have the bumper sticker for? You know what I mean? Like the thought process is never fully flooded out, right? Like it's never fully thought out. That we're like, oh yeah, this obviously doesn't make sense. You
Maybe,
get what I'm saying? We're like,
but some of these guys like so I wanna kind of jump on Danny's team here and play devil's advocate, but
yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
some of these guys like it's not a it's even though they all have a the conservative the right has a particular message, like they're not all on board with the blue lives matters and all this stuff, right? Like some of these real extreme guys, they are all complete anti-government, anti-police,
Yeah,
as is evident with the fact that they were targeting police officers as well, right? So there's a group that's out there on the right that are completely anti-government. They want their land, they want their free rights to do whatever they want to do, and then there's the other ones, and I guess we'll call them the mainstream conservatives that are anti. I won't say anti Black Lives Matters. We'll say they're all lives matters, blue lives matters,
yes.
etc. They're towing the
They're
line.
they're 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 all lives matter until it comes to COVID,
Right. Yeah, and I do
right?
believe that there are guys that are just anti-government. Period. That doesn't necessarily make them
Yes.
racist. Doesn't necessarily make
No,
them.
not at all.
Yeah, because
There's
they're
black
against
there's
the
black
police as
people.
well because they think that the police have too
Yeah,
much
there's
power.
black people who are anti-government. There's Hispanic. Anti-government isn't a race-specific thing,
Hmm.
right? Like, it goes against it goes all walks of life because it's an ideology. When you have an ideology, it can go through many different avenues. I'm sure there's Asian Americans that are anti-government. You know what I mean? It's a ton of different people. It doesn't specifically fall on their one thing. We just want to be completely clear about that because it's an ideology. Like Proud Boys are anti-government, right? Like
Right.
they believe, you know what I mean? They think that the socialism is this big boogie. Well, like, hey, bro, real quick, but you're all Cubans and you accepted socialism when you got here. Like your parents did in your Mariel, you got help. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Since you mentioned that, right? Let me. This is an
Hold on,
article from the.
before we go into the Cuban thing,
Yeah.
finish your thought because I interrupted you. Finish your thought about like the anti-government thing because a lot of times like people think that like when we talk about anti-government and shit like that, like it has to be really nuanced in context. You know what I'm saying? Like we really got to talk about that in a way that like people understand it.
Right. No. And look, like you were saying, like those guys. Chance. Maybe they all are not only anti-government, but they're also anti Black Lives Matters or they're all lives matters. They're
Right.
also they could very well be racist because it's a group of Caucasian males.
In this
But you got
specific
in
example, yeah.
that example, but it also take into account that it's in Michigan and the
Mm.
Midwest, and that's going to be the makeup of that demographic. And then militias, not that they don't have black or Latino members, but by and large, militias, state militias, these I call them
Tend
state
to be
militias. It sounds so official, but what are these loose groups of people that want to have their guns, go fire them, and possibly meet in underground basements and hatch a plan to kidnap
with
the
the
governor.
yeah
And
yeah
they're mostly white males. Um, but yeah, like they have a strong belief because I know a lot of people. I don't know that they're militia members, but sometimes from talking to them, I get the feeling that they are not racist people, not they don't have any grudges, but they just are anti-government. Period. They're anti-police as well. They're not the Blue Lives Matter. So I just want to kind of bring that out. Like when you started talking about them, that you said, oh, but they want to kidnap the governor, but they're not. But at the same time, they're anti-government, but at the same time, they're supporting Blue Lives Matters, and that's not always the
yep
case. So like we
right.
do have to be nuanced. Like I know we always we talk left of
Talk
center,
a lot of shit. Yeah,
sometimes way
yeah,
left of center. But
yeah, yeah.
I guess I'm more you're exposed to it too, living like out, not in the city, and I'm exposed to it because I live in the Midwest. So just by that virtue, I see it more. We both do. So
Yeah, like it's been like we both grew up in Miami, right? Like and we talked about it before. It's very easy to be Hispanic in Miami,
hmm
right? Like there's a difference when
don't
you
have
live
to
in
learn
the
the language.
country or when you don't have to you don't have to learn the language. You're good. There's no, hey, what are you? You know what I mean? Like where are you from? There's none of those questions being asked.
Yeah,
I mean, like you sure you why? But your Spanish, your English is so good. You don't even have an accent or anything,
it's
right? Like there's
crazy.
there's a lot of
Sorry,
there, there's a lot of that. No, you're good.
white people in Miami have like a Hispanic accent. They don't
Yes,
sound like white people outside of Miami. When I hear someone
100%.
that's been living in Miami for a while, and then I find out he's a white dude. I'm like, damn, I could have sworn you were like Cuban or Puerto
Yep.
Rican or something. You have that like just like Southern people have that twang or whatever, and New Yorkers have a certain
Dude.
accent. There's a thing that happens in Miami, and I was
Yes.
like, oh shit, you don't speak like a regular white person. You must be from Miami. It's just a
Wow.
different thing.
It's a different. It's funny you said it. I was at the truck shop today getting like my oil change on my work truck and all this stuff, right? And this guy walks in. This guy named Miguel, right? And the people at the desk, like the mechanics or whatever, go, let me get your number. And the guy had like I think it was like a Broward or a Miami number, whatever.
Hmm.
And I go, Miguel. I was like, hey man, where you from? He goes, I'm from I think Fort Lauderdale. Like, no, I mean like, where you from though? Like
Where are you
Miguel.
from?
Like,
From?
I mean, don't hear that number. Where you come from? He's like, I'm white. Huh? What now? What white dude do I know named Miguel? I didn't want to like follow that up. Like, oh, okay, that's cool. Unless I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, I've never met a white dude named Miguel. But it was that thing where like he didn't have like he was full on like he was according to him he was a white dude, but like he had like a Spanish accent, like a Spanish-esque Miami accent to
Right.
his English. You know what I mean? So it was like that thing where like you're 100% right. Like even white people have a different intonation and tone as opposed to the rest. You know what I mean? Like the Caucasian people that I meet here. It's obviously because this is like the country
Hmm.
and it's very different, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm not knocking it, but there's definitely a different tone to South Miami, like Miami Americans to like the rest of Florida Americans. There's a definite difference.
Yeah, and I had no idea that it was a thing until I left. I went to Florida State, and I left for the army, and
Yep.
then I came back. I left. I was in Korea for a while. Then I came home to visit, but I went back, to Korea. Then I went to South Carolina. So you're in the South, hearing that accent.
Yep.
And then I went back home, and I was like, oh shit, what is going
Yeah.
on right here?
Yeah.
And that's when I caught it. Being away from it for so long, and obviously,
Yes.
you hear yourself speak, but you've been hearing yourself speak for forever, so you can't really tell. And then you have a conversation with people, and you go back home, and you realize that there is like that accent, and it's noticeable. But when you live around it, you can't tell. Shit, everyone just sounds the same to you.
Everybody sounds
Yeah.
exactly the same. Dude, like there was like I assume and this is I assume most white people in like Miami are just like white Cubans. You know what I mean? Like it took like it legit like this is my own ignorance. Like it legit took me a while to realize that there was like no, there's white people in Miami too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just assumed literally everybody I walked in like I met was like Cuban or maybe Puerto Rican, but for the most part Cuban because it's Miami. It's weird. It's weird, dude. But yeah, man, dude, I still can't believe somebody tried to kidnap the governor, man, of a state here.
I know.
And your neighboring state, right? Like it's right down the. It's not
And
too far.
and those guys met with people in Ohio to hatch some other
Of course they did.
plans. Yeah.
Of course they did.
They're like, we don't
Of
like our
course they
each
did.
other's football teams, but let's go kidnap us some governors.
Let's commit
Yeehaw!
some terrorism. I like how you have to go yeehaw like they're cowboys and shit. They probably live in cul-de-sacs, but in your mind, they have a bunch of land,
Maybe,
cows.
maybe they live on the trailer and they own the land. I don't know. They
I'd
got
give them that.
haystacks, hay bales. I don't know.
They're very much like Clive and Bundy. You remember Clive and Bundy was like breaking the federal law of like grazing his cattle
Yeah,
on federal land, and then like the marshal showed up, and then they showed up with guns and pointed it at all the cops. I didn't hear too much outrage from the right side on
right.
that one. I don't know, dude. It's fucking weird.
So, hey, I didn't
Yo,
know we were gonna
something.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. But I didn't want. I wanted to say something about the Cuba thing, but go ahead if you have something else
No, yeah,
before.
that's what I was gonna segue to. Like you had brought up on a previous show, like how you were doing research into the Cuban stuff,
Yeah.
right? And like when they got here and all that stuff. Like I want you to tell me more about that, man, because I found that really interesting. But like when you said it, like we were in the middle of a
Hmm.
transition, and I didn't get to like really ask you about that.
Yeah. So I mean, and I didn't even know we were going to talk about that today. But I since you mentioned it earlier in the show, I pulled up an article, and the article is 4 years old, but still, 2015 is it's relatively recent when we're talking about
Right.
people talking about Obama and socialism and Bernie and socialism and how President Trump, um, they love capitalism and they love him because it's all about capitalism. And Cubans hate socialism, and so do Venezuelans that just got here.
Right.
So I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from this article from the Sun Sentinel. I'm hoping, and this isn't what I researched. Like I actually researched peer-reviewed articles, but for me to bring that up on my laptop, it's gonna ruin the feed. So, and I wasn't prepared for it. So here we go. Jesus, this comes out really fucked up, but maybe if I open
Sun
it.
Sentinel's a weird website.
Well, I hope not. It's the Sun Sentinel.
Yeah, I've always had trouble like the way the font comes out, where like it'll be spaced out for some reason.
Yeah, the letters on the title are all on top of each other. It's weird. I thought they were trying to be artistic, but it's just I think something screwy with their website. So I'm gonna start off this
100%.
this article. Let's before I start it again. Cubans and Venezuelans, they hate socialism. Everything about socialism is terrible. Okay. If socialism is presented to me, I'm gonna fucking stomp on it, choke that shit out, drown that motherfucker, feed it cyanide, and then drown it again. Okay, just making sure.
Genocide it. I got it. Got it.
So Cuban immigrants are cashing in on U.S. welfare and returning to the island, making a mockery of the decades-old premise that they are refugees fleeing persecution at home. Some stay for months at a time, and the U.S. government keeps paying. Cubans' unique access to food stamps, disability money, and other welfare is meant to help them build new lives in America. So, again, because they have refugee status, even if they weren't trying to take advantage of it coming and leaving, if they were just come to try to stay, they have welfare given to them automatically because they have refugee status. Okay. Which is crazy. Yet these days, it's helping some finance their lives on the communist island. America's open-ended generosity has grown into an entitlement that exceeds $680 million a year and is exploited with ease. No agency tracks the scope of the abuse, but a Sun Sentinel investigation found evidence suggesting it is widespread. Cuban arrivals in Florida, unlike most immigrants, and I guess, well, I touched on it already, so here we go. Cuban arrivals in Florida, unlike most immigrants to the U.S., Cubans are presumed to be refugees and can access special assistance. Since 2003, more than 329,000 Cuban immigrants, 329,000, arrived in Florida and were eligible for this aid, which includes cash, medical care, and job training. Shit is given to you for free.
Yes.
That's fucking socialism, Cubans. Why didn't you shoot that shit in the mouth and said, I'm going to pick myself up by the bootstraps? Okay. They now make up, they now make up 9 out of 10 foreigners getting refugee services in Florida. And the data is for fiscal years ending September 30th, 2015. And it goes through August 31st. I'm not going to read the rest of the article, but it talks about Floridians that are fed up, that are, they're supporting these, maybe not the Cubans that are coming and staying and trying to set up, a new life, but the ones that are coming and leaving and continuing to get paid. But again, that free, they're giving cash, free healthcare, and job training. A lot of the things that aren't given to people that live here, poor white people, poor black people, Latinos, other Latinos. Yep. Because Haitians. I say Latinos, Haitians, but Cubans are like their own special group, and they're just assumed to be refugees, and some of them are exploiting it. And even the ones that don't, again, you come to this country. And the one talking point from Cubans is we pick ourselves up by our bootstraps. No, you are given social welfare. Socialism is working in your favor. You're saying socialism didn't work. No, you had a fucking dictator. You come here and receive welfare to get on your feet. And of course, South Florida has a lot of Cubans in power and business and in politics especially.
Yes, mayors. Yes, right. Absolutely.
And so you have these things in place for that community to thrive. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want all my brothers and sisters to come over here and thrive. And like I wrote an article about this when I was writing, and it goes back to like African Americans and black people and slavery times. Each one teach one, right? Especially when you're leaving and being free, or if you learn how to read, teaching another slave how to read and I'm all for that. We come from another country. We need to learn the language, learn how
help each other,
how the world works. Yeah, each one teach one. I'm all for it. But Cubans have this they live in this bubble. and they think they're special, and they think they came over here and picked themselves up by their bootstraps, and that's just not the case.
They didn't.
And again, like
That's
those
not.
Proud Boys, who some of them are first generation, so they're born here, but their parents, came here and received some of those benefits because they were political refugees seeking asylum, etc. And the Venezuelans, if that's granted to them, that's going to be the case as well. You're
They get the
going to
same.
benefit from that welfare system. That those are
Yes.
socialist programs. Again, you're not escaping socialism.
Yeah.
You're escaping a dictator. You're escaping authoritarianism. So that's what I wanted to talk about last time, and I don't have all those sources with me. It's just funny that I so happened to bring up that article that kind of
No, it's all good.
encapsulated all that research.
So what I found in that documentary from Vice, right? I don't want to keep saying their names because they like it was weird. Like to me, some like ellos son arrepentidos. You know what I mean? Like when that guy goes,
Instead
well,
of
like
calling them the
when
Proud
we
Boys,
got
we'll call them Los Hombres Arrepentidos. So we won't call them boys, we'll call
yeah
them men,
exactly
and then we'll call them just,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'll respect them in that way. Like I'll call them men, los hombres arrepentidos. But like when that one older guy goes, see, like when we got here, like we didn't get anything handed to us. Hey, but like, do you know that you did though? Like, and again, we're not. This isn't like
We're happy that
to
you
knock
did.
it, right?
We want you
We're
to
happy that you
succeed.
did. We want you to succeed. You should be given those social safety nets,
Yeah.
100%. But this belief that you did it all by yourself
Yeah.
is a myth, my brother. Like it is not real.
Yeah.
You didn't do it by yourself. You don't come here with nothing and end up in a house by the grace of God. That doesn't happen, right? Like unless you because you probably had family already here that helped you set up and
That
took you
benefited
to
from those same that same
same
welfare
ones and
state.
took you
Yeah.
everywhere where you needed to go to file for this or file for that. That is all reality, bro. Like, listen, I know when we have these conversations, most people are like, "Oh, bro, these fucking liberals," and they're lying. Hey, bro, look it up. Tell us if we're wrong. People have no problem leaving comments on our stuff when we shit it all over
Oh
that
yeah,
right wing QAnon shit,
they were all
right?
over
Like
that
they had
shit.
no problem doing that, and it's disingenuous. It's not based in any kind of fact. The fact over feelings, bro. Like that's again, like we're not knocking that you got the help. You should get it 100%. But don't be out here saying that like you did it all by yourself and like, now everybody wants a handout. You people need help when you get here with nothing. That's just basic human civility and rights.
Yeah.
That's basic. That's all it is, man. You escaped a dictator, like John said countless times. You didn't escape socialism. That wasn't socialism. We have socialism in this country
Yeah, that's what helped you get
in
on your
many
feet.
different forms. Yeah,
Socialism
in
is what
many
helped you get on
different
your feet.
forms, and it happens every day. But it just happens for the rich and not us.
Yeah.
And that's my problem with that shit.
But
I don't know.
that's the
Fucking
problem
hell.
I have with a lot of Cubans is that they do see themselves separately from other Latinos. They see themselves
Yes.
as a different race, different not race, but just group of people. They don't want to
Yeah.
bunch themselves in
They see
and group
themselves as like
themselves.
hard worker, more hard worker. They're not like all these different things where I'm like, what you got? Let's calm down there.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's a lot of like
And I'm not saying they're
racist.
not.
It is racism though. No,
But
they
they
are
do see
racist though.
they do see
I will
themselves as
say that.
special. They do see themselves as having come here, escaping a dictator, and picking themselves up by the bootstraps. And their parents left communism, but they don't acknowledge that socialism is what helped them get on their feet. They had these programs in place for them and only for them, and maybe other refugees, but
Yes.
especially Cuban refugees, and that doesn't register. Again, it's just that with anyone that's trying to prove a particular point. Like I'm not. Again, you and I'm more left than I am right. So like when you're talking
Yeah.
about these crazy guys trying to kidnap a governor, and you started talking about them being not being for blue lives or being all about blue lives matters, I had to like kind of call you on that, because it's not always the
Yeah.
case.
And you should.
Especially with these guys that are
Right.
anti-government, they're also anti-police. And the
Yes.
article kind of fleshed that out because it talks about them also targeting police officers. So it shows that they're just
Yeah.
anti-government. Period. So we talk both sides. Like I like to like look at all points of views, but some people and a lot of Cuban people they'll tell one part of the story but leave the other part, the context that
Completely.
surrounds that
Yeah.
part and out of it, and it's disingenuous, and I don't think they don't do it because they don't know. They know because the ones that
Yeah.
live through it, they know that they received that aid. But then
Yes.
later on in life, 20 years later, 30 years later, as they're having kids, they tell their kids these bullshit stories that they came here and they did it all on
Hmm.
their own and they started their own business, and maybe they did. But again, you had this welfare given to you so that you can start,
Yep.
so that you can get set up and have healthcare and have cash and have job training. And they don't tell that
Which
part.
you should have.
Which
They
you
don't.
should have,
They
but they
don't.
don't tell that
They,
part, and they see themselves as special, and that's the part that fucking gets to me, that they're disingenuous.
yes. And it's weird, right? Like, look, I'm half Cuban, right? Like, that's when I speak Spanish.
Well,
I'm more
fuck it, I'm
Cuban
hanging
than
up on you now. Then
Pan.
I can't have this conversation with
You
you.
know what I mean? Like, there is this part where like it's interesting, right? Because half of my family being Cuban,
Yeah,
there is that dynamic, right? Like, I have a very conservative side of my family, where and it's weird because like it's a lot of time it's the kids of the ones who left that like have this like pride. I'm like,
that
hey,
have no fucking idea.
that you have no idea. Like, you were like, you came here when you were maybe 2 or 3 months old. That's like with the old people on the Los Hombres Arrepentidos, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
you
better
had
name.
no
I
part
like
of
it.
it. Yeah, I prefer it. You had no part in El Mariel. You have no idea what the struggle was that your parents had to go through, and what those lines were like getting to a country that they had no idea of. They didn't know anybody. You don't have that shit. Like, you didn't have that struggle. Like, I'll give the older Cubans, or older anybody in those situations, like, that are leaving a dictator and stuff like that, way more credit than the ones that like want to take it through some, like, what's a word, like, I can't think of the word, bro. Like, when they didn't actually go through, like, not symbiote, like symbiote, not symbiosis. Fuck is the word? God damn it, it's gonna bother me.
You're bothering me
Like, they're
right now.
trying. It's bothering the fuck out of me. I can't think of the word. Like, they're trying to take credit for something that they had no part of.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they didn't know what it was like rushing in the middle of the night to get on boats and get on. You know what I mean? They didn't do any of that shit. Like, their parents did that. You know what I mean? Like, so you're taking credit for a story that was told to you. Like, it was hard for you when your parents were the ones that were trying to figure it out. We know about struggling parents, right? We
Yeah.
had struggling moms. We know what that's like. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh man, like, I did that happened to me. You know what I mean? Like, no, my mom busted her ass to give me a better opportunity, and that's, you know what I mean. And she was giving certain things, and whatever. Like, Panama, we being Panamanian, we didn't have those same things. Like, we were almost looked at as like enemies of America because they invaded us. You know what I mean? There was that whole dynamic to it. So we weren't giving the same benefits as Cubans and any other stuff. We had to figure that shit out. Luckily, my mom had friends and family here that were already established, and we
Hmm.
figured it out. But nah, dude, it's
Yeah,
it's weird. Like,
not a
and the
lot of
chances
people
like
are.
that was,
And
yeah,
and for Venezuelans
that was
now,
that's what bothered me. Yeah,
Venezuelans leaving now, it's the same thing. There are these things in place where you can request political asylum, but over the last 4 years, the numbers have spiked as far as Venezuelans
mm,
coming seeking political asylum. So you fill out your application, and a lot of the Venezuelans coming over are Venezuelans that were well to do, that have money, that had
yep,
businesses. I know because I have family that's going through that, and they had to sell
right,
property and businesses for pennies on the dollar for what it was really worth. But it was worth it to them to get the hell out. Like, they waited and they waited and they
yeah,
realized the shit isn't changing, and a lot of them, I told, they waited too long,
because
I think. Yeah,
they were given they had the benefit to wait
right,
because
because you
they
have the
were from
money and
that,
you
and
have the
that's the thing.
business. But then
Yeah,
when these and this isn't socialism, right? And maybe it is, because like you're talking about socialism, whatever. Socialism is nationalizing entire industries, sugar industries, and
yes,
this, right? But you can do that. You nationalize it. These private companies are still working for you. Like, the people that own the private companies still own the private companies. They're just nationalized. Now it's run by the state,
yep,
but so they're not really the owners. The state is the owner, but they're still making money. Technically, they're not the business owners
yes,
anymore. But the way that they did it in Venezuela, and from what I've known and heard in personal stories, like, this wasn't nationalized. Like, someone's been running a flour or sugar like distribution company, and they import it from,
mm,
let's say, Brazil, and then they distribute it throughout Venezuela. Well, once this shit is the logistics have been set in place and you have everything in place, then what happens? Then these corrupt government officials start coming in and finding deficiencies in your factory, and then you got to pay them off so that those
Yep.
deficiencies disappear that weren't deficiencies in the fucking first place. But they
Yep.
can
Yeah,
say
it's not
because they work for
socialism.
the government. That's not socialism. And then eventually one
No,
day they just say, now we're just taking this shit and you're shit out of luck. That's not nationalizing a fucking. Uh,
that's corruption.
yeah, that's corruption. That's not nationalizing a
Yep.
particular industry. That's just corruption. And that's what's going on in Venezuela. And I'm sure it's what went on in Cuba. And so, again, people have that mixed up. It's not. It's authoritarianism. It's corruption. It's a dictator under the guise of socialism and communism. And I'm not saying that they work, but every time that they've been put in place, it's been under those circumstances, right? Like a military regime, a dictator.
Yep.
Nothing's gonna work under those terms. So
Nothing. Because one person wants absolute power,
you
you're
can't
never
call,
gonna
you can't
have.
call it democracy. You
Because
can't
so
call it socialism. You can't call it. It's just a
no,
dictatorship.
it's just a dictatorship. It's authoritarianism. That's there's never that context or that nuance for that rest of that statement where like, oh, tell me one place where socialism has worked. Again, we talked about it at nauseam, right? The Scandinavian model, literally all of Europe.
Right. Yeah, the
They have
Nordic model,
nationalized
right?
healthcare. You know what I mean? Like it's already there. Let's end with a lighter note because we went heavy with that.
Yeah.
Is that I don't know if we've talked about it before, but I want to talk about it again. Uh, is LeBron James the greatest player of all time? He's on the cusp. So we're recording this on Thursday, the day before he possibly wins his fourth title with his third different team. Right? We don't
Mm-hmm.
have to talk about like because I was talking about this with Danny. We did not like he hated the Heat when they had LeBron, right? Because he thought LeBron was gonna go to the Knicks because there was that whole like ESPN New York website where they had the
Yeah.
picture of LeBron like wearing the Knicks jersey, whatever. He denies it to this day. I wish I had that phone that had the screenshot. But what I find interesting, right? Like, and it's not like the Jordan. We can leave the Jordan shit out of it. We've established how we feel about Jordan. But you
The
start looking at
greatest.
the fact that LeBron carried no names to the finals. This is the first time he's ever been a favorite of the finals, and like the what he's done is I don't it's never going to be duplicated again. Like 6-0, like Jordan will never be duplicated again. But like 10 finals with three different organizations, a championship at every organization he's been at. You can't like Durant's never going to do that because he never won with Oklahoma City. Like nobody in the last 20 years has done that, and I don't see anybody for. I mean, you never know, right? Because 5 years after Jordan retired, LeBron came into the league, right? Jordan retired in '98 or 2000 with that weird shit with the Wizards,
Yeah.
and then 3 years later, which I don't even count, 3 years later, LeBron was drafted.
Andy
So
Wade.
never say never. Yeah, Andy Wade and Chris
Who
Bosh
got a
and Carmelo, the
championship
greatest.
before him? Who got a championship before
Yeah,
Braun?
Dwayne Wade, greatest
Yeah.
E player of all time. So, and like we were talking about, I was like, I never really appreciated LeBron when he was there because we were spoiled, right? Like we just had that expectation, like, oh, I'm gonna care about this in the playoffs. Like I know we're going to the playoffs. These 82 games don't matter. We'll figure it out in these 16, like what this team really is. And I didn't go to as many games as I should have, so I missed out on LeBron's like super prime. Right, like he's still great now,
Yeah.
longest prime of all time. 12 years
Right.
into this shit.
Yeah. He doesn't look like he's dropped off any.
No, he
Yeah.
looks the same. He looks the same.
But
Like
LeBron's
to
game
me,
changed.
LeBron James. Yes, it's evolved. It's gotten slower. He's more methodical. He doesn't bully everybody like he used to. There is that level. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, but it changed. Like it changed when he got to the Heat because you have these three guys that were all the number one guy, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
whether you want to say it was still D Wade's team, fine. But LeBron is the one that took his talents to South Beach. I always thought that was the greatest era of basketball in Miami Heat history. It was
History.
4 years,
100%.
right? Four straight finals. They won
Yeah.
two of them. I don't think they weren't ready for Dallas, and then LeBron was on his way out on the fourth one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. But LeBron's game evolved because in Cleveland he was putting up whatever 28, 29, like that was what he was averaging.
Yep.
In Miami, because he had other people that can score and carry the load, uh, what's the I don't want to say defer, but I guess that's the best term I could use. He
The
deferred more.
first season. Yeah.
right? He
Yep.
deferred more, especially because like it's Wade County and Wade's team. But even throughout the 4 years, like he became more aggressive. And I know early on that's what he got hammered on for not being aggressive, for not taking the last shot, for whatever, for choking,
Everything for
anything else you
everything.
want to call it, right? That's what he got blamed for. And he does it. He does it all, man. He can score. His IQ on the floor, his game IQ. He's the one guy that I think if he ever decided to coach, he would be a successful coach. Guys like Jordan can't coach because Jordan has that raw talent, just like LeBron does, and just like Kobe, and they
Yep.
have the talent and the work ethic. But it's that fucking killer mentality that like, I'm fucking doing it. Why can't you? Where LeBron, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't have the game IQ, but
They
if anyone's
they
gonna,
don't though.
if any great player was gonna make that leap into coaching and be good at it, it would be him because of his intelligence.
Yeah,
But
he'll
he
be an
can't.
owner.
Yeah, but he'll be an owner because he can't coach because it just they're not made up that way, right? Their DNA, they're just at their core, they're so competitive and they have that innate talent,
It'd be
that
hard to lose.
ability that
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
at some point they would lose. Like you can't coach 12 guys that will never be anywhere close to what you were. Maybe one guy on your team will be an all
Yeah.
star, but um, bro, having said all that, I don't think LeBron's the greatest. I think he has the best overall skill. Again, all these compliments I gave him, the IQ, the fact that he can score, and he's been that guy that will take the shot and wants the ball at the end of the game. Because he wasn't doing
But
that at the
because he doesn't
beginning
have
in
the
Miami
killer instinct,
because he's
because
not
he doesn't have the
because he's
killer
not
instinct.
MJ. But what's crazy
Yeah.
is that the killer instinct isn't. I don't want to say he doesn't have the killer instinct, okay? Because MJ. Let's not forget, MJ made the right pass. He'll pass to Paxton. He'll pass to BJ Armstrong. Like, he wasn't the one that was always going to take
Steve
the
Kerr.
last shot. Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
Like, so everyone says, oh, LeBron doesn't want the ball in his hands. So defer. Jordan did the same shit. He had the
Yes.
IQ. He made the right plays. So, but some people will conflate that with saying, oh, Jordan had the killer instinct because he always wanted the ball in his hands. Well, yeah, to make the right play. And if the right play was for him to
Yeah.
take the last shot, for him to
Then he would
fucking
make
push
that.
off and send Byron Russell flying 20 feet the other way and take that last shot, or pass to
Over
Steve
dramatic as
Kerr.
Byron Russell.
Yeah, right. That too.
Yeah, yeah.
Or give it to BJ Armstrong or give it to John Paxson, or Paxson. Then that's what he did. But there's something about LeBron that I don't even know. Like, yeah, call it killer instinct. There's something about him that he doesn't have, that MJ had, that Kobe had. There's just that
Well, Kobe
missing from
emulated.
him.
Kobe was like a carbon copy of, like, he literally walked and chewed gum
The
like
way,
MJ,
yeah,
right?
you're
Like
right.
it was,
Yeah,
like he it was a different beast. Like LeBron is a totally different, like
he's more
totally different
polished.
animal in
Those
his own right.
all around.
Yeah, he's all around. I think, to me, right? Like, look, the 6-0. What I'm saying is, like, I'm not. They're at the table together, and it's
LeBron is
1A,
3-9.
1B.
Come on now.
No,
Maybe
no,
four.
3-6.
I'm sorry,
3-6.
not 3-9.
This is
Three and
the
six.
10th.
He's got to 9. He's 3-6. He's
Yeah,
probably gonna be 4-6 after tomorrow night.
4-6 after tomorrow night, dude. They're literally wearing the Kobe jerseys. It's over, bro. Like, and
Goddamn.
I'm a Heat fan like a motherfucker. They're wearing the Kobe. There's no, listen. If Jimmy Butler beats the Lakers, right? Because it's basically Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Because Bam's hurt and a 20-year-old Tyler Hero. If they beat LeBron tomorrow, I don't care if they lose by 60 in Game 6. I don't care. Like, that is a bigger win than the last win they had, because they'd be beating them in the Kobe Laker jerseys. That is a murderer of a, that's a killer instinct for your motherfucking ass. Do I expect it to happen? Absolutely not. And I'm okay with it because I'm a LeBron fan. Like I've told you, I would be rooting for the Lakers against anybody else. Like I honestly thought this is the first games that I really watched the Lakers play, and they're a lot better than I thought they were as a team. But they have the two best players on the court, and we missed out on the fact that the Clippers choked the way they did, because that would have been a phenomenal series. It might have not, you know what I mean? It might have been a little more competitive because of like Pat Beverly and like the back and forth.
Right.
But like there's everybody that plays against LeBron, there's a level of respect towards him that Kawhi wouldn't have had. But Kawhi couldn't handle the Nuggets, and we ended up getting soft series in the West and non-competitive series in the East. Because I was thinking about this, not to sidetrack, like Boston's dead to me because next year, KD comes back with Kyrie, and the Heat are gonna make some kind of move to make themselves better.
I would
So
hope
it's
so.
Nets and the Heat, Nets and the Heat next year. Like that, I think they make a move for like a Joel Embiid. You know what I mean? Like especially with Doc Rivers taking over the Sixers, they're gonna have to figure something out there.
Mm-hmm.
Make the move for a bigger guy that kind of eliminates a little bit of the Anthony Davis thing. And the like I told you when in the series of Boston, like Boston doesn't have that veteran, and they're if they couldn't beat the Heat now, right, with the first year of Jimmy Butler, they're not going to beat them later when Tyler Hero has a year of experience under his belt
Right.
and the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like it. I don't know.
Yeah. And
To
look,
me, LeBron, and
yeah,
I'm not saying like listen, Jordan is the essential GOAT, right? Like I'm not saying that he's not the greatest of all time. I'm saying that there's more disrespect towards LeBron for being an also great that there was ever for Jordan. You get what I'm saying?
no, I agree.
Like
Look, hey,
Jordan won
what's the
6 times,
argument?
but he
What's the argument against Jordan? He played against a bunch of fucking plumbers and electricians and garbage men and doctors and lawyers because none of those guys look like fucking athletes. They just look like they.
yeah.
I'll put on a
And
jersey
also,
and some
real quick,
shorts.
if Scottie Pippen doesn't take the worst NBA contract of all time, they don't get the players they can get.
Right.
7 years, $14 million.
Right.
Jordan doesn't get his $40 million a year each
Yep.
year. They can't go after Rodman. They can't go after Steve Kerr. They can't sign anybody. If Scottie Pippen literally gifted the Bulls the greatest contract of all time.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
he should
that's
have been
the
a
other
max
thing,
player
right?
too.
They had a dream team. Rodman, defender
Yes.
and one of the greatest rebounders. Pippen was top 50
Tony
player of all
Kukoc,
time.
one of the
Kukoc, greatest European imports. Kerr, one of the best shooters of all time.
Nowitzki, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Like
yeah, it's crazy. Like he had a
we
dream
forget
team.
that Steve Kerr won titles. Yeah, Steve Kerr won titles with the Spurs too.
He did.
Like he wasn't something like, oh, only did it with Jordan.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he had greats around him. Like we always act and romanticize like Jordan did it with like nobodies. No, bro, he did it with other Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Like let's take a step back and realize that too. Now, LeBron's done the same thing, but LeBron took a no-name team to the finals and he beat Detroit Pistons. So I don't know. I'm just saying like the disrespect that goes towards LeBron for being a great is higher than anybody I've ever seen. And the criticism, I guess, is warranted because he is 3-6, soon to be 4-6. But there also has to be something said for like this is the first time that in all his NBA finals, except for like with the Heat, that he was the favorite. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a shame though, right? That the Heat, like they lost those two players. I mean, they came back and played, but it's not the same. It's like when
no, it's not.
the Raptors, beat Golden State,
Golden State. Yeah. There's
or,
like an
or even
asterisk there.
when LeBron beat Golden State as well because of injuries and because Draymond lost his cool. It's it's not the same. But this was from the get-go.
Yeah,
Miami lost those players, and so it's a shame that I mean I still thought LA was going to win. We talked about it. We were figuring maybe Miami takes 2 games.
Yep.
But the fact that they lost those guys, like I didn't even think they were going to come back for the series at all, depending on how serious the injuries were.
I was more proud of them with that 1-game victory than I've ever been. Like,
yeah,
I told like this season, I didn't expect this at all, bro. Like I was good with like a 2nd-round exit. I was like, all right, we built to next year. Got our rookies some experience.
Got good young talent,
and we move forward. Good. Now we have a confident ass team going into next year. I think the season starts in January.
Yeah.
So you got Tyler Hero. Like trade everybody but Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and Bam Adebayo. Like you keep, and obviously Jimmy. I'm cool with if like Goran retires or like takes a pay cut.
Going on 35, yeah.
30, yeah, just tore his like foot apart. You know what I mean? Like tore his fascia. So at some point you got to think about like your future. I'm sure you could do great things. And is he Croatian? I don't want to like mess that up.
I think so. I was about to say Serbian, but I think it's Croatian.
Anytime I think of an itch like as a last name, I think it's Croatia because like
some Eastern
Modric,
bloc.
you know what I mean?
Eastern European.
Yeah. I apologize, Dragic, if you're not from Croatia. Completely want to let you know that I'm not disrespecting your European heritage in any way whatsoever.
I did by just saying he's from. I did by just saying he's from some Eastern European country.
You would say that. Disrespectful.
He's from. He played professional ball in Slovenia and Spain, but where is he from? He is from Slovenia. I'm not about to say that city. The city. This is how you spell the city he was born in. Ljub. How the hell do you pronounce Ljub? Is the L silent or is J? Or do you just say?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Ljub. Sorry, I apologize. I listened to this podcast. That was John that said that. Now Ben, I'm very respectful towards your talent. Solid guy. I mean, he had to follow Steve Nash in Phoenix.
That's tough.
After Steve Nash left, that's tough. That's a GOAT. You know what I mean? That's a GOAT point guard.
And they had a shitty team too for a long time, and he was there, throwing away years of his prime.
Yeah, he made his money though, so congrats to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's over tomorrow. Saturday, Miami plays Clemson. We'll see what happens there. Yo, I wanted to tell you, there's this show on Netflix that wife and I started watching called The Unicorn. It's with that guy Walton Goggins from, remember The Shield? Did you ever watch The Shield?
Yeah.
He's the guy with the teeth. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
With the biggest teeth in. Yeah, he's in that show. And it's like a sitcom, and it's a really good show. It's like lighthearted and funny, and like with all the madness going on in the world, like and all the madness that we've talked about on this podcast, with like people trying to kidnap a governor, targeting cops, and all this shit. Like it's a good show to watch just to like, you know what I mean, escape from all this bullshit. What were you gonna say? I feel like you were reading something.
No, yeah, I was looking up The Unicorn. Oh, but I was gonna ask about Miami. Miami's still undefeated, right? What are they? Did they break the top 10? Because they were number 12 when I checked a few weeks ago.
They're number 7. If they win, very big if, Clemson's Clemson, right? Yeah. If they win, somehow pull it out on Saturday. I also have to remember every game after a bye week last year, they lost and lost badly. Yeah. They literally lost to FIU last year after a bye week. If they have a chance to win, I think they crack the top 4 with Alabama, Georgia, and Florida being the top 3. And then Miami will crack into like number 4 with like Clemson number 5 because it's like a 7 and a 1.
Yeah.
But like if they don't, I don't think they drop too far unless they get blown out. They maybe drop to like a number 11, and then they if they win out, they would see Clemson again in the ACC championship game.
Damn, I have seen zero minutes of college football this year. Like I've seen nothing. I've seen no NFL games. Nothing.
You know what I do sometimes? I go back and watch LeBron Heat highlights on YouTube, just to reminisce. I was like, I'm full court alley-oops. Like it was like playing NBA 2K on amateur.
Right, it's
fucking. Oh my god, it's so amazing.
There is something I wanted to talk about. I know you wanted to end it on a lighthearted note, and this is a lighthearted note.
Yes,
but it's
Susan.
So, and Mel was with me, and anyway, we were at Walmart, waiting, keeping our 6 feet of social distance at the checkout line.
Right.
And we went to this register. For whatever reason, like, this is how it works. Like, when we're driving, I always pick the wrong fucking lane when we stop by a toll booth or, on the turnpike. I always pick the wrong one, the slow one. Like, we'll look, and she's like, where did you get in here? There's 3 other lanes that have no cars in them, and we have the easy pass. What are you doing? I said, I don't know. You put too much pressure in me. We're just going to stay here, deal with it. She always picks the wrong fucking lane when we go to the supermarket. Wait, every time.
I have a question. Is it because you can't see? Like, are you...
I have automatic tilting and lifting seat. I can see just fine over the steering wheel. My head's about to pop through the fucking sunroof. That's how high I sit up, all right?
So misleading when you get out the car, though.
And I got stilts to reach for damn gas and brakes.
Javi, brake.
Yeah. Hey, you get the brake, you get the gas, all right?
All right, go ahead.
So anyway, so we're in this we're at the checkout lane number 2 at Walmart, and right before the girl starts scanning, we realized, oh shit, she's the one that screwed up our when we checked out last time a few weeks ago. Like she scanned something twice or something, which is no big deal. Like we play this game where we we guess how much we're gonna spend at the register, or if we go to a restaurant, we're like, hey, how much over under or whatever. And so I work in finance and accounting, so I'm trying to be to the penny. Sometimes I'm trying to recall how much everything costs. I'm like, wait, so how much was the tip and the alcohol tip and all this shit? So I'm no fun to play with. But so we're at Walmart and we're thinking like it's gonna be this much, and then we get the check or we get the receipt and we're like, oh, what happened? She scanned something twice, no big deal. We went to customer service and got it taken care of. So that was a few weeks ago. So we went again a couple of days ago. Same register, same girl. We're like, whatever, no big deal. If she screws up, she screws up. But we're like watching. We're paying attention to the little monitor on the credit card machine. Well, it gets to plantains because we're Latino. So we're buying yuca. We're buying plantains because my uncle's going to make sancocho. We're buying all sorts of stuff. And she puts the green plantains on there and they have the little barcode on them. And she tries to scan them. They won't scan. She tries to put it into the machine. It won't recognize it. And there's a lady behind us. At least she was 6 feet behind us. Older white lady, maybe in her 60s. Who I guess after a couple of tries of this cashier trying to input the plátanos in there, she had enough. She wanted to be helpful. She was like, "Excuse me, miss. Excuse me." The cashier wasn't paying her any mind because she's just there trying to like input these plantains or scan them.
Do her job.
Try out different things that she could do to get this done, to do her job. Right. The next step would have been to like maybe ask me, but I'm like, you get the thing with the code on there. I don't know what to tell you. I can go look for it. So the next step would have been to like page her manager or page someone. So she's like, the lady behind me is like, "Excuse me, do you want me to call someone? Do you need help? Do you need help?" Again, wasn't minding her. She's doing her job. So this lady, because she's not being recognized, because I'm a 63-year-old white woman in Ohio and I'm offering help.
White.
She's like,
white.
Yeah. So she starts mumbling under her breath. She's like, "Oh, she knows I'm talking to her. Why? She's not acknowledging me. She knows I'm talking to her. Like, why isn't she responding?" I'm like, she's doing her fucking job, bitch. And guess what? We're the one. It's our shit. It's our shit right now.
Yeah.
And so she walks around because we're in the way. She doesn't want to break her 6 feet of social distance. So she walks around through the other register and then comes and asks her, "Hey, she's like, can I help you? Is there anything I can do?" And she's like, "Yeah, I gotta call someone. But it's only one person that can do this." But guess what? By the time she had done that, she was already pressing the button to page the person. And so she was just waiting for her to get there. But in the meantime, she was still trying to do her job, and she was looking around to see if she could maybe see her and get her attention before she got the page. And she's like, "Well, what's this person look like? What's she wearing? What's her name?" And this cashier was fairly new. She's like,
superhero.
Yeah.
Superhero Susan over here.
Superhero. Yeah. And she's like, "I don't know. She's wearing a particular mask. Like she's got the yellow vest and she's wearing the specific mask or whatever. I don't know her name because I'm new and she's new and whatever." And she's like, "Oh." She throws her hands up in the air like, "You don't know her name?" And she's like, "Oh." And then she walks off talking like, "Now I gotta go look for people in Walmart to get the job done." And I wanted to, like, Mel's like, "Baby, just don't say anything." I'm like, "Why? She's being a fucking asshole. Like, she thinks she's being helpful." No, like, I just want to say something to her. And so she goes, walks off, can't find the person. She walks down like one end of the Walmart to where the other entrance is. By the time she gets back, the lady's arriving. And she's like, but she acts like she found the lady because she's coming from one end of the Walmart. The actual manager's coming from the other end, coming to the cashier. But instead, Susan walks up to the manager before she gets to the cashier, like, "Oh, hey, she's needing your help." And I'm like thinking, like, yeah, bitch, like she got called. She knows exactly where to go. You're not doing anything. And
literally nothing.
She goes back to her cart, and again saying like, "Oh my, I gotta find people in Walmart so we can get the job done." And I'm like, oh my god,
that's the worst kind of person.
Yeah, And so the register beside me opens up. She's like, "Oh, I'll take the next person." And this lady like immediately walks out, starts going over there. Her shit starts getting scanned. And
that's why I do self-checkout.
Talking shit to the like people just can't do their jobs. And you know, Mel, like I was upset for a while, and Mel's telling me like, just calm down. I'm like, I just want to tell her that she's a piece of shit. I don't like rude people. She's a piece of shit.
Yeah, I don't like rude people.
Why is she being a piece of shit to this person that's trying to do her job? Who, by the way, is new. Like she screwed up our thing a couple weeks ago. We didn't make a big deal. We just pointed it out. She's like, "Oh yeah,
it's not a big deal."
Yeah, she's like, "Oh yeah, I did. I made a mistake." She's like, "Customer service should be able to take care of it." I'm like, "Cool," but this lady,
so
being the most Susanist, yeah. So yeah, so she
The most Susan and shit.
Susan the shit. We actually we check out together. So she gives me my receipt at the same time that this other lady's getting her receipt, and we walk out together or behind us. And she says something to Mel. I don't know if she tried to say something to me, but I'm not even gonna look at her because if I do, I'm gonna be like, you're being a fucking piece of shit. She's trying to do her job. You're pretending like you're trying to help, but I just don't. I don't, because if I'm gonna be an asshole, I'm gonna be an asshole to a person that's being a piece of shit and an asshole, not to like someone that's trying to do their job. Yes. And sometimes when people when people are doing their job and I'm upset at them, I'm not gonna be a piece of shit to them. Like I'll go fume about it somewhere, but I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna give them shit at their job, because sometimes I do get upset at people and I'm like fucking incompetent.
It's natural,
but I'm not gonna be like to them like you're like, what are you doing? Like let me help you do your job, even though I've never done it in my life. I'll fucking go rant off somewhere.
I've never been a cashier ever.
Yeah.
You want me to bag your groceries? I got you.
Yeah. I can do that. I did that shit for a long time. I bag your groceries with my eyes closed. Paper or plastic? You got one paper or plastic? I got you.
Yeah. I'll tell you exactly how to bag this cereal with this fucking flour.
You don't fucking put the plantains with the eggs. What's wrong with you?
You put egg. The only thing you put with eggs is bread on top. That's it. Yo, like fuck, shout out to the fact that those were the worst, those were the worst shirts of all time with Milo's. That like
the polo
pink
shirts?
and purple, the pink and purple collar, like it's split at the top.
What was it, like green or turquoise or some shit?
Yeah, and then like it was like green. It was like the collar was pink and purple, and then the neck of it was like turquoise and green, and then the shirt was like blue. Like, who the fuck decided this? Like, why don't you just make the shirt all blue? And we didn't even have like name tags. You know what I mean? Like it was, and like our name, like it was fucking. We just had those shirts, and they were like black pants. That was it. And if you wore jeans, you got in trouble.
You sure did.
Yo, fuck that Susan, man.
What's that lady's name?
I got in trouble all the time.
Who was that? Was it?
Starts with an L. Was it L?
Damn it! That manager came in like. I left after she came, a few months after she came in, but it was the Latina shorter, stocky
because
lady.
Of her.
Carmen, I can't remember.
Started with a Susan. Let's call her Susan.
Miriam.
Who gives a fuck? Lorena, some Spanish ass name. Who gives a fuck? Bro, I can't stand people like that are rude. Like like if they make a mistake or something, you just go to customer service and handle it. Yeah. Like it's the least important. People like that. My wife always tells me like that's the action of who they are. You can't ever take that personal, but it's so hard in that moment.
Yeah.
Like that situation I told you about. Mm-hmm. Like that I can't talk about, you know what I mean? That I can't talk about on here. We'll talk about, that'll be like a Patreon episode.
Yeah, stop being a snowflake.
Where like, it's so weird. We're like, being a snowflake. Hey, bro, let's, like, you would not talk to me if I was in front of you like that. Like, that would not happen. You know what I mean? That would not fucking happen. Or like, I was heated for like that whole day. Like, I had a bad day yesterday because that shit like ruined my entire day. Because like, I hate being talked down to.
Yeah.
And I hate being talked down to in a situation where like I can't say anything, which is like you know what I mean, like which is why I was so awesome in the military. Like that's where it worked out really well for me.
Yeah, it worked so great.
It went so great when you have like assholes in charge. But look, I don't know if we've done one since. I want to give my brother because I want to say this at the end because I try not to get emotional because my brother. But I want to give my brother a whole lot of credit, man. He just got promoted to NCO, to sergeant, because Danny told me that, like, when we talk about, like, rank in the military and stuff like that, we should break it down like people don't know.
Right.
So he got promoted to E5, which is a non-commissioned officer, which is the lowest ranking sergeant, right? Like, the beginning of
his... He's going to get all the shit details. You're the first line supervisor, so you're going to get all that. Yeah. Yeah,
you got a couple. So he's got a couple soldiers under his thing. He sent me I sent you all the videos that he sent from Japan, and pictures and stuff, like the speeches he gave, like the whole he's talking at parade rest. I was like, Josh, you can't talk at parade rest. Like walk around or something, like unlock. But he was like, you're so nervous being up there. I've done the same shit when I got coins or whatever the fuck they want you to give a little speech. It's so awkward and so nerve wracking. But I couldn't be prouder of him, man. Like. It sucks that he's not going to be able to come home for Christmas because he'd have to do a 2-week quarantine going back to Japan to make sure he doesn't have COVID because this country's fucking in shambles. But Josh, man, I'm proud of you. We're trying to get him on the podcast here soon. But there's a 13-hour time difference, so it's always a little bit of a struggle. But we got to figure that out.
It's got to be on a weekend.
Hopefully sometime. Yeah, definitely a weekend. Hopefully sometime this month. we get a show done with him, and he'll be the first guest. Maybe we'll do the Patreon episode so he can really talk, because
Yeah.
he has certain things that
He wants to
he
get
can
off
really
his
talk
chest.
that talk.
Yeah, and look, man, Josh,
Yeah.
congratulations to you, Buck Sergeant. I'm just fucking with you. Congratulations,
Yeah.
man. You don't have that. You don't have that specialist, that sham
Yeah, like your
shield
brother.
protecting you anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're doing great things.
Gang,
You're a
gang.
specialist too. I'm sure you're doing awesome stuff. I'm just messing with you. But if you get the time, if you, for whatever reason, I know you're busy, but if you find a weekend where you're not wearing a fucking Yoshi onesie or something, running around Japan in a goddamn go-kart, and you want to join us for the show, we would really appreciate it. And if you want to fucking
Dude,
wear the
we
onesie, wear the onesie. I don't care. But if you just want to take some time
we
from riding
should
go-karts,
totally-
yeah.
That episode, because it'll have to be early in the morning, right? Let's be honest, with the time difference.
Yeah.
That episode, we should 100% wear onesies as a team, right? Like I will buy a onesie to fit my big ass, and I'll wear a onesie with like the hoodie and everything.
Yeah.
That'll be a Josh special
Look,
podcast.
man, I
We
got
all
like
wear
2 or
fucking
3 onesies.
Yeah, because you could buy them at half price.
Hey,
like, it's easier for you to find them.
Hey.
What?
I got
Too
the
soon?
adult
Too
size.
soon? No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't. No.
I do.
You got like the adult size and like the kid version, right? Like it was like the next size up.
Yeah.
From like, oh, Javi can wear this.
I got
I can wear this
I
too.
got the husky kids. I got the
You
husky
got the
size.
big and tall kid. You got the big and tall kids.
kids. Now we're making fun of fat kids. Damn. hey, I think I used to wear husky pants. So there you go. I was like, oh, that Puerto Rican food my grandmother would feed me. Shit. No,
yeah,
no matter how many
Son,
sports
like,
I played, like I wouldn't lose weight.
Son, I'm fat now. I can definitely make fun of fat people. I'm one of them. Fuck it. Rock it, man. All right, my brother. Good show. Good talk. Let's do it again soon. Hopefully Sunday. And obviously, we talk all the time. So hopefully we'll talk Saturday about a UN victory. And we'll see a crowning achievement of LeBron's 4th title tomorrow. But again, if the Heat win tomorrow, one of the biggest wins in franchise history for me, to beat them in that jersey. But we'll see.
I was hoping that he would beat LeBron just to be like, that's what you get for walking out on the Heat and not putting any effort in on that last series. But if he wins, hey,
Yeah,
he
definitely
deserves
gave up. 100%. Shout out to AD too.
Yeah.
The unibrow about to get his first ring. That's cool.
Proud.
Shout out to him. He's really stepped up. I didn't think he would, because he never played with any expectations, but that's a tribute to his greatness, man.
It is.
I'm never gonna hate on greatness. I'll always just hate on number 34 for Boston, because he's not great. He shitted himself
Shat
into a
his
title.
pants.
You literally you had to take a shit, and you got wheelchaired off the court. You're a bitch, bro. Forever. Fuck you forever. I'm not even saying your name. You know who you are. You bitch. That truth hurts. All right, man. I'm done. I got nothing else.
Out.
Peace.